All right. So let's get into this. One of the questions that, guys, do you know how important podcasts are? Podcasts are the future. The absolute future, all right? I'm in radio and I can tell you podcasting is the future. So the reason we decided to have this session is as much as we want you to come and have fun with us, we also want you to take something home. By show of hand again, how many of you think you want to get into podcasting?
Show of hands. This is how people fail exams.
Yeah, you've thought about getting onto a podcast. You're thinking of starting a podcast. You're in the right place. Why? We want to share with you what we've learned along the way. And hopefully, this can be impactful to you as you start. You don't need to start with the mistakes we made. So, I'm going to start with Calvin.
First, I'd like to thank Combox for trying to do my job. So what we have today is, first of all, we have podcasters in the house. I saw some hands there. How many podcasters do we have? Yeah?
Nice.
And the one lady over there who wants to start a podcast. Amma, that's still you, yeah? Right now, we want to have a panel discussion where basically we're going to discuss and talk about our journey.
Again, I told them that part.
Nah, relax. So I've got a bunch of questions that I'm going to ask our esteemed podcasters here. Welcome, Mariah.
Thank you.
Welcome, Calvin. Welcome, Tonio.
Put a stick figure over
Yeah,
there.
he's still parking his car.
Yeah.
So my first question was actually to Tonio, and since he's not here, I'm going to ask Calvin.
Yes.
I'd like to know, first of all, congratulations with making Mics Are Open podcast like one of the biggest podcasts in the country and the world. How does it feel? Oh, yes.
That's the spirit.
Yeah, we need that energy. How does it feel when you meet somebody and they tell you, oh my God, Calvin, I love your podcast?
Is this mic open?
Is the mic on?
These mics are not open.
The mic is not open. I think it's definitely always a pleasure. You know, when anyone comes through and says, oh, I like the mics are open, this and that, then there's those people who are always like, oh my God, you're on time. Because, you know, the intro says Calvin is always late, right? So there's those people who are always saying, oh, you're on time, you're on time. I'm actually the one who keeps the most time on the mics are open, right? But it's good to see the community that we've grown, and I think it's the same for you guys as well. The consistency is one of the things that's kept us going and going and going and going. Because there's one time I think we'd not dropped an episode. I think we had like a grading issue or something, and it didn't drop at 10 a.m. Our social media, everything was in pandemonium. Everybody's like, hey, where's the episode? Where's the episode?
Yeah.
And they're so entitled, right?
Yeah.
So it's a good thing to create that. And for us guys, we just keep doing it. And it started off as a hobby, but it still is a hobby, but we enjoy doing it. But now we've turned it all into a business.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing about it. Yeah.
I hope Akina Joyce, you're learning.
Wow.
They are late to the episode a few minutes, a few hours, not a few weeks.
Yeah. And it's quite good because you mentioned the word consistent, and I'm so sure there's podcasters in the house who know how essential consistency is and how you try and be consistent. So I want to bring in Joyce for the next question, and I'd like to know what's that thing that you do for you to stay consistent? What are those tricks that you could actually tell the podcasters here or even us, things that we could get to learn in how we'd stay consistent in delivering episodes and just making sure that you're always putting out content?
Right, yeah. So I'll speak from a content creator perspective. I mean, even our podcast is still content creation. But I feel like what has helped me, especially as a content creator, and this might sound crazy, put an alarm on your phone. Like, I'm dead serious. Because if you're not consistent, then people won't have a reason to keep coming back to your page. And if you're like me and you literally forget social media exists the minute you put down your phone, write it down, put a reminder, set up something in your calendar and literally set alarms. Be it 30 minutes before you're supposed to post, be it the time that you're supposed to post. Those are the things that have helped me. Calendars, alarms, and reminders. That's the one thing that's going to help you stay consistent. Because we all have lives. Like, as much as we are content creators and podcasters, we still have other things that we're doing. So to make sure that you set aside time for these things, literally put it on your calendar. Like when you put, like if I say set a reminder for 3rd December for ABCD, it'll pop up on your phone and you'll remember there's something you're supposed to post, there's something you're supposed to edit, there's something you're supposed to shoot, etc. So use your phone. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Maria could also chime in on this
Yeah.
one. Because I know that for us, one of the big things, I think I could add to that, if you're a podcaster, if you're a group of people, know, or you're picking people, know each of the people that you're working with strengths, right? Because if you pick people and you're the one who's coming up with everything, there could be a challenge. So for example, like when us guys are sitting down coming up with content, we'll say, today you're taking lead on this episode. So it's your duty to be able to make sure that we have a meeting, because we have meetings right before the episode. I mean, like if we're shooting, say, tomorrow, we know that on Monday, we're going to be writing our ideas. Bring your ideas, bring them to the table. Then we sieve them, because not all ideas are great ideas. We sieve them, and then now once we have agreed structure, then we say, okay, at this time, make sure we are all there. And guys, I want you to guess, who do you think on our podcast is always late?
Joyce.
Thank you.
Sorry, what?
I had a Joyce, I had a Kerry.
No, there were
Yani
more carries
Kwambox
than
is
Joyce,
never late.
please. Please.
I never late,
But then no,
guys.
Kwambox is never late. I always find her there. You, on the other hand. Yeah. That's all I'm going to say.
I think there's quite a number of times I've gone to the studios and none of you are there.
You're a
but
liar.
I'm a nice
If
guy.
you go to the studio
You're
the
a
day we're
liar.
not recording, it's none of our business.
That was one time. I'm a nice guy, so I won't really put that. But
Mary,
it's good that you've raised that, because the next question I want to ask Maria, for your podcast, Mic Check, when you're balancing schedules, because the podcast has got quite a number of people, how do you make sure that everybody's schedule would be free on a particular day for you to come together and record the podcast? Please give us the journey. Like, how did it start and how did you get to that point where you agreed that on this day, this is the day that now we need to go and record the podcast?
Actually, let me say something funny. As I'm here right now, they're actually recording an episode.
What?
It's not our fault.
Yes, but all together, I think, because Chaksi, everybody has an assigned role. So Chaksi is the one who handles production. So he makes sure that everybody is on time, everything is set on time. So when we walk in, it's just to roll and go. But also on the flip side, I'd say we push ourselves. Like sometimes, probably Moas has meetings during the day. Chaksi probably needs to travel. So either we'll get someone who needs to sit in for Chaksi, or Moas will have to move things around, or I have to cancel some things and make sure I'm there. But we ensure that if it's time to record, everything else has to move aside. But it has to be done. That's just how we've gotten to this point.
All right, so is it a specific day of the week, or
I'd say
you plan out week by week?
It's the normal schedule that we have is we record every Sunday, we record 2 episodes. But sometimes, of course, the guest might cancel, so it's like we have to shoot in between the week. So move your schedules around, do what you need to do.
Wait, you guys record on Sunday?
Yes. Yes. So because Sunday, akunati, there was traffic.
Yeah.
You had the meetings with
But
Nani. You will
it's
be there
Sunday.
at 9:30 in the morning.
As in, you guys are going
It's
to
a
church?
full
Kwambox,
day.
don't get any ideas,
It's a full
please.
day.
You don't have a hangy?
Don't get any ideas, please. Do not get any
Bruh, no,
ideas.
Sunday
Yeah.
is for family.
Yeah.
When do you guys record?
Wednesday.
Yeah, as
Yeah, we
Tuesday.
record Wednesday at, I think our call time is 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock is our call time, so every Wednesday, literally. So it's one of those things, because I always have a meeting at like 6 p.m. every Wednesday. I have a meeting, so guys just need to keep time.
Yeah. That's nice. I mean, shout out to you, Maria, for shooting on weekends, trying to get us on weekends, especially these two. Like I mentioned, like everyone has like their whole a life outside of the podcast, but these two mostly like are MCs. So their busiest time is like from Thursday to Sunday. So shooting on a Sunday is, I mean, on a weekend is very difficult for us. So weekends weekdays are always best.
Yeah, and I think the reason why I wouldn't shoot on a Sunday is, guys, let me tell you, with all due respect, I love work. But there's also, if God himself created and rested, which day will I rest? You know what I mean?
There's no rest in podcasting,
I think it's also, I think you have to adjust your life to know that because as a creative, there always has to be, moments of rest.
Yeah.
I feel like you'll give your all, you'll hustle, and then you're unable to. So rest pia ni muhimu.
And okay, so one thing that I've noticed is the podcasts that we have here are group podcasts. Anyone in the group who is currently running a solo podcast? Do we have any solo podcasters? Or maybe are you thinking of starting a podcast by yourself? Because we do have podcasts out there that are solo and we have group podcasts. So I'd really like to ask you, Kwambox, what are some of the things that someone would look at if you want to start a podcast and you're by yourself, you don't have people around you, and you're probably considering, should I invite my friends or should I do the podcast by myself? What's the most beneficial way to do a podcast?
Thank you very much for that question. And now you know. I mean, we've spoken about it. I'm dropping new podcasts next year. Not to drop Boxpod, but I have other projects coming up. And one of them is a solo conversation, kujiongelesha, because that's what I usually do anyway, right? So, and the challenge, of course, and I think everybody can attest, it's easier talking to somebody who's in the room because a vibe is created, but when you're by yourself, you have to, even when I'm doing radio by myself, the day my co-host is not there, that's the day I'm just like, okay. Because you can, delivering the punchline. You do the show by yourself.
I do the show solo.
Yeah. Okay, you're best placed to answer this question.
Yeah.
Well, insanity, that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Right? But anyway, I think just as you said, it's always a good time doing it with someone who knows you, someone who can pick up on your cues and all of that. But also as a solo podcast, you've got to be able to be comfortable to deliver like ideas, bring out the jokes or a particular subject matter, all of those things, right?
Yeah.
It's very, very easy, actually. And I mean, for anyone who's out there who's thinking, okay, how can I start a podcast? You could just go on your phone. It has a microphone, right? And just use it, right? Just record and go online, and if you have a laptop, that is, and get a software called Audacity. Audacity is actually free, right? Okay. And it's so easy to use, and you'll be able to cut out everything, literally.
Yeah.
So it's doable. And
I think in terms of content is how to speak to yourself, which is usually the challenge, because like sometimes I'll listen to a podcast and I do trainings. You find someone is just rambling on and on and on for like 5 minutes, nani introduction, right? So what you realize is that maybe you haven't arranged your thoughts. I feel like it's much easier to do a podcast with other people banter. And there are different types of podcasts. If your podcast is informational, you want to speak about a certain topic, then you have to have the information here on your fingertips. And then don't ramble, don't like now trying to put personality into it. It's you. Just get to the point and just start, disseminating that information. But if now you're by yourself and you're trying to imagine that, you guys, welcome. I'm just here by myself, and you're delivering news about, types of roads. I think you're going to alienate your audience. So I think also understand, as soon as you have the information that you want to break down, then you can go on and on. It doesn't matter whether you're with people or you're by yourself.
So prep is very important.
So important.
Yeah.
Very,
Yeah.
very. And I think one of the things, just like on radio, when you're starting those solo things, writing will actually help you, right? Write, and be like, okay, so my introduction is going to say this, what I want to deliver. Over time, you kind of get used to it, because just as Kwambox was saying, you don't want to rumble on, right? So you need your ideas to form.
Yeah.
So that's the whole
Exactly.
idea of it.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much for actually expounding, because you literally answered the next question that I wanted to ask about picking the right content to do if you want to start a podcast. I want us to take a 2-minute break because Tonio has finished parking his car. And when we come back, we are going to we're going to talk about money. I want to know from the podcasters that we have here and the ones in the audience, how much money do you need for you to start a podcast? And how much money are you going to spend up until you start making money? All right?
Food
Thank
for
you so
thought.
much. And remember, you could feel at home. Jirani is going to play some music. If you want to dance, Musika Etu Ivo. Order some drinks from the bar, and we get to enjoy ourselves. I mean, Charisma is going to be on stage. Nas tupate ka tumetulia tu, si ndio? All right, thank you.
Welcome back. That was the DJ playing right here at NSK. Home of Boxpod live sessions. All right. So, of course, we're having a panel discussion about highs and lows of podcasting. And like we promised, from Sandwich Podcast, ladies and gentlemen, Tonio.
Thank you so much.
Wewe kwani umetoka Kisumu nini?
Nitoka kitambo man, unajua ukiwa na gari kubwa kupaka hapa parking hazitoshi. So like the parking ilikuwa ndogo.
Omera bwana, relax. All right. So you missed a conversation we're having, part 1, but part 2, want to talk about money. Now, you know it's all fun and games creating stuff, but if there's no money, what are you doing? A hobby. So can we just have honest conversations about money, right? We'll start there with Tonio.
Okay.
When you start here, tuambie tu.
Honestly speaking, big shout out first to the Sandwich Podcast. Now honestly speaking, si tukianza si ni majenzi mazi hatukuwa na do. But one thing mimi najua kufanya, I know how to sell dreams. So we started by the very simple. Actually the quality was very shitty. Because nilikuwa natumia mic flani, I shoot content. So kuna kabu mic kadogo, I used to place it on a table, alafu tuko around it tunaongea. So inakanika watu wako kwa bar. But then content now ilikuwa crazy. That's why they always say content is king. Because the first person who told me, we, Buda, hebu kama ucheki studio, unishow. Juu mko na kitu kali lakini quality mko chini. So now, after that, I went met up with this guy. They're called Your Media. Nilienda pale nikawashow, okay, sawa. So iko hivi, si tuko na content, mko na equipment. Na clearly, hakuna mse ako hapa, ni sisi tu. So, let's do this. Mimi nitakuwa na kushout out tu hapa. Nasema Your Media wasawa come. Right now they have about 50 podcasters, you know, wengi. But we were the first. But mimi niliuza dream tu nikamwambia cheki niko na content, uko na stuff. Let's do something. So mimi ni advocate for all the young people out there. Content ina come first. Alafu story ya do usijali sana. You can always sell a dream because but now ujue a podcast is past about 7 episodes. So kuna pia hiyo transport ya kuenda huko, ya kuenda hiyo place una record. So hapo pia lazima tena usell dreams again to your parents or guardian or whoever ataweza kusaidia. But then as long as unajua vision yako, you always have it going on. So of course itakuwa ngori. My co-host walikuwa wanasema Kibz, umetuambia hiki kitu itawak, tuko episode 15, hakuna pesa, what's going on? But then mimi nilikuwa na show tu itakam, you know. So eventually do ilianza kuingia. Na the first check tulipata ilikuwa haikuwa hata domo, it was about 40k. Na hiyo ni ad tunafaa kufanyia msee. But it's like ini pesa sikuwa na, you know, like that's money I definitely didn't have and I do need it right now because nilikuwa na madeni, nilikuwa na everything. But then now even the first few ads we did for free, but then tunaimake ikae nika tumepewa do. So like msee akiona ko like, wasa wanapewa do, nini, investor ama like a brand anakama anasema, this guy is paid. How much did they pay? Well, I got a story for you. So you know, like mi nimesell dreams, do inakam baadaye, but now for the first few episodes, itabidi lazima do your thing, you know, ujitume.
I'd like to chime into that, like what Tonio has said. Like amesema, at least you need to have one thing. And I think the most important thing is content, because not everybody is blessed with the fact that you've got the funds, you've got the money for you to have, you know, a good camera crew, a good sound production guy, and then now you have the content, you have the studio for you to start releasing content. As much as you just have one thing, if you have the content, you could be smart about, you know, trying to get a place to go and shoot. Like for us, when we started right here at Nairobi Street Kitchen, up until our blesser decided to build a studio for us. And it's a journey where we've got the sound and we are sourcing, you know, video up until we're able now to get our own video. So it's a process where you start pole up until you get somewhere. Don't wait for yourself to now have everything in place for you to start releasing content.
Yeah. And I like what, I want you to note two things, right? Before we had this panel discussion, we told you how sometimes we record stuff that disappears, right? So imagine, it doesn't matter what we were shooting on, because if you look at the consistency of, say, Sandwich Podcast, they have content releasing all the time, as we have a studio. And the content doesn't come out. So I'm just saying, even with your phone, if you really have something to talk about, people will watch. Maria, let's talk money, yo.
Oh, child. Where do I begin? Okay, I guess I have to give the story till I get to the money point. So, actually, my first time ever getting on a pod was in 2017 with Chaxi. And at the time, I guess I didn't understand what it was about. I was like, oh, just sit somewhere, talk, and call it a day, boom. So later, he was like, he has this idea of starting our own thing called The Catalyst. We tried it for 1 year. Funny enough, at the time, we were so broke. We used to shoot at their offices. So on Saturday, he'd get the key, just put a small camera there, do what we had to do. So after a year, COVID happened, we had to stop. And at the time, it's like, okay, we were starting to figure out like how to go about it. Then mic check happened last year, and I think at the time is when we were like, you know what, if we want to get something done properly, we have to be serious about it. So even to date, you money pinch where things are not kind of working, but yeah, I'd say that's just what's worked for us. Like just sacrificing. You know you have, like, let's say like 5K, and this needs to be sorted out, you sacrifice. Doesn't make sense, but trust me, as you do it, as long as you're passionate and you're motivated to keep doing it, it pays off. Yeah.
All right. I don't know if you're seeing how the mic was into your just here, like the mic was off. I don't know if you're hearing, there's a running theme here. Everybody's skirting around the issue of making money. And don't worry, we're going to talk about that. Because you know, the key word, you know when someone uses passion a lot, right? Like if I come to you and I say, don't worry, you know, this thing is my passion, just know I'm not making any money. No, hey, we'll talk. We'll talk about making money. I want us to talk about content, right? How do you decide what content goes on to the podcast? Because there have been reports that content yama podcast inakwanga the same, right? If you watch this podcast and you watch that podcast and you watch this podcast, it's like they're reading from the same script, right? And this is not just a Kenyan thing, it's internationally, right? So it seems that podcasters, there's something you want to talk about, and there's a theme that this is the kind of things they want to talk about. Calvin, how do we decide on content for Mics Are Open?
Well, for us guys, when we started, when us guys started, it was essentially what we couldn't talk about on radio, right? So we were just like, okay, don't talk about that on the radio. Let's save it for the podcast. On and on and on and on, right? But us guys have gotten to a point where we like to talk about real things. We'll talk about stupid things, but we'll also dedicate like some very, very, a podcast to like very important stuff, right? Like we once shot a podcast about finance, right? And we told guys we've got an Excel sheet that you guys can actually use to, you know, plan your budgets and everything. And to date, guys are still always asking for it. I think we had 1,000 and something plus emails, so guys asking how can I get that Excel sheet and all of that. For us guys, it's interesting when we look at the category that we're put in. It says comedy. I don't think we're that funny, yeah. But we just like to comment on stuff and just have a good time. But we always have to have something that's serious. Like, you know, we'll talk about parenting, for instance, myself, me and my daughter. We'll talk about finance. We'll talk about depression, all of these things. Because if it's just, you know, just vibes, at some point, guys will get bored. You get what I mean? Because people are going through different things, so you've got to uplift them as well. So that's the whole idea. It's not too serious. We don't have like, you know, not like radio prep. You know, you've got to fill in the document. No. Us guys constantly, we have, I think we have a WhatsApp group, we have a Twitter group, and we have an Instagram group. So we're just always sending each other, pop. Yeah, did you see this? Did you see that? So by the time we meet on Wednesday, it's just like, let's talk about Will Smith. Let's talk about BN. Let's talk like that. Yeah.
And he says, is that the same way Sandwich collects content? Because at the end of the day, there is what you're feeling, and then there's what the people are talking about, and then there's the views, because views is what everybody is. You don't want to put a podcast out and, you know, guys are like, nobody cares about space, right? So how do you choose your content?
Well, for us, tukianza, because I see a lot of young people here. Si tukianza man tulikuwa uni second year, third year, na there's no one who has more stories than someone who's just trying to leave school, to drop out. Si tulikuwa tuna drop out. Like, si tulikuwa tunasema mazia tutaki stuff. But then, pia, there's that thing about the chemistry. We could even literally talk about rubbish the whole 1 hour. But then now the chemistry, mse anasema, I'll say, because it's progressive. So now, what we did, the first few episodes, we were just talking about our life experiences. So utapata ka tunaongelea story maybe uni and kuenda chuo na kuacha. We'll talk about it because nika sitcom. Like inatoka, it's improv, it's very improv. Hakuna kitu imeandikwa, hakuna nini. But then later on, tulianza kurealize at some point you may be repetitive. So we used to write like, ka tunaweza andika 8 topics. Then tuko like, sawa, school, mademo, sijui nini, something. Then what we do is we talk about cheating and we're like having another partner and nini. So unazi join in the podcast. So we all know where we are going, but then in between need the chemistry in our work. So that's why it's very important to also be with people you have chemistry with. Siwezi chukua anyone hapa nianze podcast. I mean I can, but itakuwa tu ka talk show. But then kuna ule mse anajua vitu zako zenye of course your community over time will come to know. By the way, kwa box anakuanga hivi. So if something comes up, we'll even start laughing, including the person who's watching. So now, for the content, it's very progressive. But then now, one thing I would tell people, especially the young people out there, mkienda pale si ati muingie tu kuongea, mtaanza kukwama mahali kutakuwa na So like, it's just good to know today we have 7 stuff we're talking about. We have the chemistry, na kaende. So that's how we do our thing. Yeah.
It's going back to content, right? And then chemistry. Pick the right person. even for a relationship. But guys, don't take relationship advice from me. Not for me. Joyce, maybe you can speak a bit about content. I was reading a study that was done late this year. I think we saw it together, and basically, they've highlighted some of the things that you want to talk about on podcasts. You people who watch podcasts, you are all the same. There's specific things that you want to hear on podcasts, right? So before I let Joyce speak, I'm going to give you a chance to think about it, and then I'll come to you with the mic. Tell me, what are some of the things you think people want to hear on podcasts? Joyce, what are some of the things how do we choose content?
No.
Okay. How do we choose content? So obviously between the three of us, we all have different... I always like saying that our algorithms are different. Like the things that pop up on my social media are different from what pop up on hers and what pop up on his. So we always come in together, each of us, and we pick like a topic each. Like, oh, I saw this headline today. It was talking about A, B, C, D, and is this something we can talk about? If we agree, fine, we put it on the list. So everyone comes up with their own topic or headline, or it could be something that has been trending. It could be something that people have been talking about. And what we've realized, and I think we can both agree, when we talk about topics where we give people information, it's like, I call it an infotainment. Like it's information, but it's also entertaining. If you do anything around a topic that actually gives people information, it tends to do better than one where you're just bantering. Am I right? Yeah, so people are always looking for information, especially in this generation of social media. Like, when's the last time any of you guys even saw a newspaper in your vicinity? Probably 0% or 1%, right? When's the last time any of you read a newspaper? Or when's the last time any of you watched news? So when it comes to like our generation, we've found a new way of sharing information, and that's why I feel like podcasts and a lot of content creation is like, I can go to like an entire Twitter feed and find out what's happening in Israel, you know, or I can go and watch an Instagram video and find out what's happening on the other side of the world. So if you share content where you're informing people or keeping people up to date, I tend to believe those are the videos, or that's the content that will always do better.
All right. She said what people want to hear, and I don't know if you're getting that. If you want to start a podcast, it starts with an opinion. You have to have an opinion. It could be, I read somewhere where this guy was talking about, I said I read, sorry, my bad. I memed somewhere, because let's just be real. If you are reading something off the internet, and then you are saying I read, you didn't. You memed, right? Because most of that information is not even real. So basically, I was reading somewhere, and this guy was saying that a lot of creators right now feel like, I don't know what to say. Why? Because everything has already been said, right? But not by you. So before you open your mouth to speak, ask yourself, what is my opinion? That's what people are there for. In fact, I think I feel like every podcast could have the same exact topic, but you would still watch all three because you're like, I want to see this person's opinion. I'd like to hear this person's opinion. So if you're looking to start a podcast, ask yourself, do you have an opinion? I want to, Kalala Tafadhali Njo, our lovely host. Make some noise for Kalala as she makes her way onto the stage. Long live the clan. I love this girl. Sasa, there's a question I've asked guys here to tell us what they think people want to hear on podcasts, right? The top 4 things that people want to hear on podcasts.
Long live the clan in the building one more time. Upinduru. Yeah, what day now? I would say this, First things first, there's something called the element of surprise. Somebody would ask me, Kalala, how is it that umekuwa kwa industry for like 3 years, but bado nagonga ma 500,000 views? It's because every single time somebody sees, it's called a thumbnail of Kalala, they don't exactly know what I'm going to say. So there's the element of surprise. Number 2, speak yourself, Baba. The way una feel, kila msee ana feel hivyo. Talk about the elephant in the room. Stop trying to be like everybody else. I believe that's number 2. Number 3, confidence. I know you could be saying something that does not make sense. Kifua, strong Baba. Amini, hata kama uamini. You know when you're caught in a lie, umekula skari uko za sijakula na uko na skari hapa. And then now, last but not least, don't go for the numbers. Express yourself. About entertainment, most of the people, mse atamka asubuhi, and you're trying to make a video to get 20k views. That's not the point. The point is, mimi nimejibonga, we do kenye udu kijam. You know? So those 4 things. First things first, element of surprise. Number 2, confidence. Number 3, jibonge, elephant in the room. Nice and easy.
Now, the elephant in the room. Pelekea watu mic huko chini watuambie what they think people want to hear on podcasts.
All right, let's get into it. Mundana tumia stairs. Wongo. All right, Baba, let's start with you. What do you think people want to see in podcasts?
Personally, I would say self-growth, self-improvement, and just personal development.
One time for Mr. Politically Right. Sure. William Rasta. What do you want to see in a podcast?
Which one? The one at
Oh, thank you.
Probably trending things or what someone feels. You just express yourself. Yeah, and I feel like if you express yourself, there's probably someone somewhere who's also feeling the same way. Okay. So yeah.
Unasema feeling is mutual. Last but not least, nipe nani mic. By choice of hands, nipe nani mic. Huyu anakaa vizuri, ako na ndevu.
Hi guys. Hi. I think personally, what I'd like to hear from a podcast ni what is going on every day. There's always something new you get that you didn't know. Kama facts za Joyce, ataka zinakuwa za uongo at time. But when I get something that's going on in the world, am I in Kenya or something. Number 2, there's that joy kona a vibe among friends. Kona people wakivibe wenyewe kwa podcast. Kona stories they know about themselves that we don't know. So ile what I mentioned something and they laugh and you have no idea. I also like to see that. Number 3, mention topics sensitive. Vitu watu wako afraid kuongelea, but ini Gen Z na people are learning from places weird, from the internet and from everything. So to get texts za watu on these sensitive topics is also one of the things. Na most of the times niko there to have fun. So to get something fun pair.
One time for Monday. Huyu anafaa pewe PowerPoint slide. Yeah,
One more time for Kalala. All right, so guys, the number 1 thing that Kenyans want to hear on podcasts, drum rolls please. Relationships. Believe it or not, that's what y'all want to hear. And it's not just Kenyans. It's just a global phenomenon. And that's why most podcasts, the moment you leave out anything to do with relationships in any form, not saying, oh my God, there's slime between me and no. As in, whatever you're talking about, it could be sex, it could be, because why? I think people want to know that they're not by themselves. He said, both of you said, what I'm going through, right? So, in your content, relationship inakuanga kitu you talk about. Calvin, you're holding yourself, thinking very heavy on this one.
guess it comes up. It definitely comes up, right? I think we've had wilder days. Yeah. I think there's one podcast I was going through a breakup and these guys were just roasting me the whole time. They're like, do you want to record the podcast or not? So we've had some amazing moments. But relationships, I think one of there's one time when that August Alsina story and Will Smith broke up. I mean, so basically, to give context, Will Smith, what's her name? Jada, who's, Jada was dating the son's friend.
August?
Right? August. Oh, that broke. I think it must have been like 7 p.m. or something. We're recording now, today. And this is like 2020. So we're recording remotely. So yes, podcasts, a relationship is always something we'll gravitate towards. We don't give it too much, but always there. At some point, also I think there's episodes we don't touch on relationships as well. Yeah. But ask us, we've recorded so many, like I'm even trying to remember what we spoke about this week. I'm like, hey. Yeah, my brain cells are fried.
Now, let me take you to somewhere else. Dynamics of working with, because all of us are in trios, threesomes. Some of us were in more than, you're all adventurous. As for some of us, 3 is the maximum, right? For some of them, sometimes there's like 7 people there. You're just like, who gets what?
Yeah.
Right? So my question here is, there must be dynamics of groups, right? Where you're just like, fuck that person, right? And me, I'll tell you, there's someone, I reached a place, I was like, fuck this person, right? Because it's him. It's him, you said fuck him. Yeah. Tonio, your peeps are even throwing you under the bus. Tell us. Do the dynamics sometimes, because you know when you're seated on, when you're watching, you can never tell that there's anything going on. You know, these just seem like best friends. But I'm sure sometimes you're not as best friends.
Yeah, for sure. Kwanza mimi, you know, me, I'm that glue that holds now everyone together. So Mimi, first things first, you have to have someone like me. Mwenye atatupa ego yake huko. Jumi, sasa sitakuwa na ego, cause kila mtu sasa tutakosana. There's so many episodes where tumefanya wale wase wamejam. Could be juu ya pesa, could be juu ya anything. Umse anachelewanga daily uko like, bro, hata ulale hapa bas, tukupate kesho, you know. So it's like, cause I know I have a talent. Big shout out to Nyamita. Ni talent, big shout out, man. Ni talent lakini ule mse ananisumbua, but niko like, damn. Niko na mtuka Owen. Big shout out to bad boy Owen ako pale in the building. Maze, Owen atakuwa like, Buddha, sijisikii kukam leo. Namwambia, what's up? What's going on? Like, kitu imehappen home ama nini? Na kwa sijisikii tu. Niko like, sasa, as in, niko like, ama nilete mic home to record kwako bas, you know? So you just have to lower ego yako. The moment tutakuwa like, sawa, fuck it, kaa uko bas. That's when now, and people notice, msata kwa like, kumse hajatokea sana, you know? Because the last time mtu wako tokea sana kwa podcast yetu. Anyway, hakukuwa. But you know, like, yeah, and like podcasting is like a diary of our lives. Leo nitakuwa naongea vile niko happy. People know I talk about demu wangu kila time. Nitakuwa niko happy leo. Kesho nimejam, siku nyingine nini. They also notice mse mmoja sipotokea sana. Ama mse squeeze alikuwa na energy squeeze ame. So like when it comes to a group, there just has to be that one person who lowers their ego all the time, consistently. Jumi uchoka. But then, hawataijua. Itakuwa to like, yeah, Kibz will, of course, understand. Not every time, but, you know. So like, lazima kuwe na mse mmoja. In a group, I understand why so many groups fall out. Alafu unapatanga. Let me just put it this way. Ni spar up kitu. Just tell me a group, a female group, wenye bado iko standing for a long time.
Even Sauti Sol wali break up. Don't put it on women.
No, niambie boy bands, Destiny's Child.
Okay, so Backstreet Boys are still together?
No, the thing is, all I'm just trying to say, utapata wanaume wajali. But then kuna watu wako very in touch na emotion yao when it comes to this. Unaona? Sisi tutakuwa like we buda acha ufala.
Ladies, I feel like he has personally reached out to this side of the Sahara. Mariah, Banbeka, skiza, atamaliza kuje Kenya. Watarudiana.
Idols.
Ako idol, mwingine yuko idol. Let's go.
No, Kibz, I agree with what you said, but I wouldn't fully agree with that. I don't think there needs to be one person who holds the whole thing together. Everybody needs to understand their footing in a group dynamic. Like, for example, mic check. Chaxi is the mastermind. He's the one who runs the show. Moas is the comedian, keeps all the puns and all the jokes coming. I'm the sober mind. So if I miss from an episode, there's an element that misses in the episode altogether. If Chaxi, and you get the whole, it has to be, everybody understands what their role is. Make sure you pull up, do what you need to do. In the situation where we have domains or whatever, when our guy says action, it flies out the window. Nobody cares that me and you are fighting over money, Sujati, what happened? Yes, no one cares about that. If you purpose to deliver content and you want to give people proper content, the BS has to be put aside.
Maria, acha nikwambie tu one thing.
BS is not Bible study, guys.
One thing too. Remember, hii sasa naongelesha wase young wenye bado hata wajui msanishi hata kwao. Ninaweza kula leo nisipo work, you know, like I'll always survive. So you'll find someone is okay, someone ako sawa, ajali stuff inapenaje, but najua si ni wanoma, you know. So it's like not everyone will understand. Nimekalisha watu chini. Nikawasho cheki, Buddha, iko hivi. Tutamake it walai. But you just can't make, they have to see it themselves. So until it gets to that point, because that's the vision. Vision kila msa elewe ni hivi na tufike tu. That's the vision. But then kufika hapo, not the easiest thing, you know.
Group dynamics.
I think
No. Before we get to Boxpod Manenos, I'd love to throw mic check under the bus. I mean, mics are open kidogo.
Okay.
Who is the person that misses the most episodes of Mics Are Open?
Neville.
After Neville.
Calvin,
right? No, we're talking about founding fathers.
Okay, Calvin.
The founding fathers. Because you know now they have siblings, the offspring.
Little mics.
Little mics. Boom mics, yeah. So when you're missing episodes, is it you guys are having drama? Do you guys ever have drama?
Actually, the most consistent person is Andy. Yeah, Andy is the most consistent. If I'm not on an episode, I'm probably out of the country. Yeah. You know what time it is.
Okay.
Yeah. If G misses, same thing, out of the country. Yeah, you get it's international like that. But so for us guys, I think first and foremost, we used to do a radio show together, right? So we have the discipline of doing it together. In times when we've had domains, there's one time we're like, okay guys, we need a break. Then we'll figure it out. We'll come back after like 2 weeks, what. We've never really taken a break. If anyone's having like a season they're not too good, you can apply to HR. We do have HR. Wow. And you'll get some time off like that, yeah. But if you watch our podcast, you will notice like Andy was away for 4 episodes the other couple of weeks back. He was on leave, yeah. Ashley was away for about 3 weeks as well. G at some point was away for 4 weeks, like that. So it's basically we encourage guys to take breaks.
So it's the mics and the doors are open.
Yeah, the mics and the doors are open. Literally. Yeah. But it's a for us guys, it's a system that works. We've kind of figured it out. But also you talk about the dynamics, right? So we have G, who's an older gentleman, then there's me who's my age, then there's Andy who's younger, and there's Ashley who's younger. So our perception and the way we say things. It's like G will tell us when he used to go to school, they used to leave at 3 p.m. and they used to get to school at 9. We're like, how? Yeah. Huh? You get? So all of this kind of dynamics. For us guys, Obviously, we've got the older gentleman. He'll tell us, okay, do it like this, do it like that. There's Andy with his amazing thoughts and his questions. There's me and my businessman self. There's Ashley with her persona at times telling us, oh, you guys can do that, all of that. So it kind of works out, essentially.
So I'm seeing we're quickly running out of time when you're having a good time. But I want us to talk about money, right? There's one thing, of course, at the end of it all is where is the money? Now, interestingly, a lot of people who are in radio are seeing the need for podcasts, right? And I get asked this question a lot, like, Kombox, is radio dying? Is podcasting the future? Let me not speak of radio, I'll speak of podcasts. Podcasts are definitely on the rise. And in that same report that was showing us what is the number one piece of content that Kenyans love in podcasts, it also shows what your consumption habits and where brands will be spending their money in the next couple of years. And a huge chunk of radio money is going into podcasting, right? So, I mean, you've had an international, no, before we do that, we were supposed to talk about our dynamics. Yes, Kerry and Joyce will speak about it.
About what? Okay.
So I had a question. The way you said, like, everyone needs a glue of the group. I want you guys to guess. Who do you think is like the glue of Boxpod?
Kombox.
You are correct. Do you know this girl will actually call us and lecture us, like, over the phone? Like, no, guys, we need to do this. We need to be taking this serious. Bro, I feel like it's my mom who's talking to me. I'm like, okay. You watch the next few weeks, the way we'll be so well behaved. She sees us falling off again. She'll call us personally, each of us, not even a group call. She'll call us and be like, guys, we said we're going to do this. You were supposed to do this. Bro, I'm like, okay, I get it. So for sure, yes, we all have a footing in what we're supposed to do and what we bring to the Boxpod, but it's very important to have, like, I call the mom of the group. The one who sees you sleeping or, like, trying to, like, take a back seat or, like, trying not to be so serious, and they'll be like, listen, you said you were going to do this, so I expect you to do this. So a round of applause for Kombox, man.
For me, if you say you're going to do something,
Just do it.
otherwise, we're going to have words. Kerry.
I think Joyce took most of the words out of my mouth, but I think the perfect way for you to get dynamics to work is you solely don't leave the responsibility of the podcast to one person in the group, because all of you are the podcast. So what we do, and I actually think it works, is each of us gets the responsibility of an episode. So every episode that you see would come out, someone has taken the lead of making sure that we show up for the prep meeting to discuss content, making sure that we all are at the studios on time for us to go and start recording, and to make sure that the content and the conversation is driven in the right direction. So if all that is left to one person to be able to check people, at some point that person is going to choka, and you'll get to a point where you start asking yourself, do I really need these people? Do I really need to do a podcast with you if I have to keep on dragging you? So I feel if you're in a podcast group, try and make sure that everybody has got a responsibility of making sure that the podcast is out. Not the responsibility of Ati, this is the person bringing the content, this is the person bringing the jokes, this is the person bringing the vibe, Z. Try and mix it up so that you can get to see where your strengths are. Probably the one who's bringing the vibes would actually have a really good sense of direction for you to have an awesome episode.
That's so true. All right, now let's talk money. Everybody wants to make money. How do you approach the money aspect? YouTube, of course, pays us. Are there YouTube people in here? Peanuts? Lots of peanuts. Are they here?
No.
Sackcloths. sackloads of peanuts, right? I mean, it's not a lot unless you have Kalala numbers, right? But money, where does the money come from?
I think he should answer.
Well, us guys, the first check that we ever got was on episode 100. 100 episodes. 100? Yep.
Yeah.
So 100, episode 100. So for us guys, we've been doing this for 5 years now. I remember since I have come from the advertising world, I know what it looks like and how it works. I'd go to agencies and tell them, hey, you guys need to place ads on our podcast, what. And back then, they never used to see it. They'd be like, oh, no, what? Send us the data, what? You know how it is. You guys have been through that, right? Fast forward now, we're not looking for them, they're the ones looking for us. You get? So, with that said, I think we've worked with Java, Cookito, Safaricom, we've got Ketepa, EABL, MultiChoice. You saw us, we were just shooting. We just signed a 6-month contract with COP. So you guys need to get on Cooperative Bank. Yeah. So us guys have been grinding, right? And also, in terms of YouTube, right? There's a couple of ways you can make money off of YouTube. Going out to the Ikonini podcast, I think he's found a way to monetize. He makes a lot of money from YouTube. So it's just, I think next time we definitely need to get more Africa. We can holler at him over the weekend. He can walk you through how to, because I don't understand how, with the views, you guys are saying you're not making money. It's very doable. So it's just, you got to think about it like this. So there's a couple of things. You can get your brand endorsements. You can make money off of that. You can make money from lives like this. You can also come up with like things for like SMEs, smaller things, placements. You have the mentions that you're doing on air, on the podcast, right? But you can also sell space in terms of like on your YouTube channel, the elbows, right? The squeezebacks and all of that. So there's money to be made in this whole digital world right now. Yeah, I think these guys have worked with Cookito as well, all of these different kind of brands. So it's doable.
Well, Calvin umesema stuff, of course, very important. And before we even get there, there's this kind of thing Muambia say. The real vision is having a self-sustainable, let me say, environment, let me say. Because your podcast inafaa kuwa tukienda kupiga live show, tukipiga live show tunauza merchandise zetu, kuna sponsors wamekaa mkaa, naona mko na sponsors hapa hivi, tunaweza fanya everything around that, right? At the same time, if it's not a live show, we can have our own merchandise. Na merchandise wase wengi wanafikiringi tu ni hoodie, t-shirt. Kasi tuko na drinking games. Tuko na nini, mnaweza kuwa na anything that is tailored to you, because watu wako na affinity kwa wale wale wase wanakupenda. So wase wanakupenda, wase wanafanya nini, and they will buy your stuff because they love you, But now, one thing I realized now that sahi niko wiser, nilirealize that vile mnaanza tu hivyo kweni na hiyo kind of vision where wasanii wabaki kwa wasanii. Usichukue msanii, usichukue host moja ndo ana handle business. Mimi na love shit yangu. Mi hata leo ukikuja uniambie buda twende tupige hiki kitu wapi unilipie ticket. Mimi nitaenda because I love my craft. But then you need to have someone who handles the business. Someone who goes into the rooms and a pitch, mse anaenda wapi, mse ataongea, ata seal deal. Juu mi utakuja uniambie, buda si tukupatie 20k. Mi napenda, mi hata hiyo do sitaki. Okay, nataka do, but it's like I can't really measure the value of what I do. But hata wewe mwenyewe ukikuja kunioffer do, it's just an appreciation that nimewaeka. It's not really that that's the value, That's why you need to have someone who handles the business solely. Mse tu ana handle hiyo biz, ana make sure ako out there always looking. Juu mtakuwa na opportunity fiti. Kama sahi, there's a condom brand that just hit us up. Because tunaongea, you know what we talk about. You know what we do. Like wakakama kasema buda, vile mnasema hii stuff, tunadai mmoja wetu alisema atumiangi. Sitaki kusema kwa hii room. But then it's like, alisema bro, huyo boys ndo tunataka kumchange. It's not even about y'all. Mnajifanya mnatumia hii stuff. Strap up, nini? Nikamwambia sawa, leta hiyo pesa tuone kile tutadu. So it's in the works. But then, huyo mse wa kuhandle biz, anafaa kuhandle business according to how you talk about your stuff. Hamwezi kuwa tu mnaongea tu stuff. Kuna some intention. Unajua, kuna ile yenye mnafanya kitu mkitest, juu mse ataichukua. But now, yeah, that's how to make money, man. Like on YouTube, kuna mse atawapanga weke ma squeeze back. Kama umewatch futa, kama ujui squeeze back ni ukiona screen inakuwa ndogo na ad inatokea, kuna mentions, kuna placement. Kasa hii tungekuwa tumeplace kitu hapa mse amelipia, you know. So there's so many ways to make money. You just need to be smart about it. Get a very business-minded guy to handle your business. That's how I would say it. Yeah.
Should I answer that one? Yes, absolutely. I'd say for mic check, it's been different because I think for us, how we've managed to make money this year is being raw, authentic, and consistent. For the longest time, we've been reaching out to brands or, you know, come on board. And we actually just got our first Jaeger, and they were like, you know what? We don't even want you to change anything about how you guys do your thing. Just do what you need to do. But on top of that, when I talk about being raw and consistent, we have random fans who will be like, you know what, send us your production budget for the whole year. I'll pay for it. Send us this, we'll sort it out. And you're like, huh? Because they're like, I love that you guys, you know, you're consistent, you're passionate about it. So that's how we're making money.
Tupitishe sadaka ya Pastor
Right
Nana.
about now,
Sindio?
where the ushers, basket ipite hapa. We need the budget for 2024. But guys, thank you so much. Give them a round of applause. Nimesikia kuna mtu yani raba, amaze me with it. Hey, Tonio, kuanga at least na sieve. Yeah?
That's authenticity. Authenticity.
All right. Thank you so much. So we're going to take a short break. And right now, we're going to get into the live recording. That was going to be 45 minutes. And our topic is Elsa Majimbo versus Kenyans and other stories.
Mungai, sasa itaanguka.